of what is Web3, what Web3 can do for you. We're going to look at this specifically from a marketing angle and what are the implications of Web3 into your day-to-day marketing, whether you're looking at managing a community or launching a paid media campaign. So, I'm going to dive in straight away. We have about 12 slides. At any point of time, if you have any questions or want to discuss the project that you're working on, feel free to add it to the conversation. So we're going to start with, what is Web3? And I think the best way to think about Web3 is to think about what it's not. I like to think about Web3 as the evolution of the internet. And we're going to talk about what it means is this next slide. For some of you, like me, I'm 46 years old. I've experienced pre-web, Web 1, Web 2, and Web 3. I've seen the evolutions. So Web 1 was the early days of the internet when we had Yahoo and Alta Vista and those legacy search engines. And all we could do at the time was to go online and consume content, whether those were, news articles or perspective on, your favorite hobby. That was really the early days of the internet. Web 2 got here around, I would say, 98, 99. And this was the introduction of what we call, a more interactive web where we can interact, we can become a writer, we can become a creator. And this is where you see the emergence of platforms like, I know you're not going to believe this, but things like MySpace, Facebook, Blogger, and many others. Some of them may be familiar with you. Some of them feel like ancient and really are, because many of them are defunct at this point. But Web2 is really this idea of like, I can read and I can also write, in this environment. And Web3 is newer. Web3 was introduced, I would say, 4 to 5 years ago, and really mainstream, I would say, in 2021, so 3 years ago. Web3 takes the internet to another level. Web3 allow any creator or anyone really on the internet not only to read, to write the internet, but also to own a piece of the internet. So again, Web 1 is read-only. Web 2 is read and write. Web 3 is read, write, and own a piece of the internet. And you may wonder, why does that matter? Because for the last 20 years, you have been going online. You really haven't owned your personal assets, whether you're creating an image or whether you're creating a piece of content. And it really didn't really bother you until this point. But I tell you what has been going on is, and again, Web3, again, this idea of like, you own a piece of the internet, own the assets you create, you're no longer dependent on those third-party platforms. So the reason why it matters is for a very long time, everything that you produced on the internet, let's say a blog post, was really not owned by you. Essentially, it was owned by the platform. So if you were early adopter in Blogger and you're writing about your trip to Melbourne, Australia, which I did, all the content I produced was really not mine. It belonged to Blogger. At any point of time, Blogger could go out of business and decided to use my content for something else. I had no say. As of today, in Facebook, it's the exact same situation. You actually don't really own anything. You think that you do, but Facebook can take your content and use it for a variety of reasons. They can monetize your content and put ad against it. They can sell you data associated with your content, and you have value control over this. Web3 is trying to change that. The emergence of Web3 was this profound idea of like, hey, you are individual, and whatever you produce is yours to keep in your personal life. Think about this. If you produce a portrait, a physical portrait, it's yours. But if you produce a digital portrait online, it's not really yours at this point. It belongs to probably a platform where it's being hosted. This is a quote I really like about the power of the platforms. And we're talking about the Google, we're talking about the Facebook or Meta, we're talking about those platforms. Something is wrong when, those big tech platforms take a higher take, basically a higher fee than the mafia. And what we mean by this, and I'm saying that respectfully, is if you are a creator in Roblox today, Roblox is an emerging metaverse, mostly for pre-teenagers and teenagers, even though I'm, a user of it. If you're a creator, 80% of the revenue attached to your creation goes to Roblox, not to you. Imagine a mafia in the physical world where 80% of run your restaurant is going to this platform. This is what we're talking here about Web2. The excesses of Web2. Same for Google and same for other platforms in here. And Web3 is trying really hard to put an end to this, saying, no, you are the creator, and we're going to bypass those platforms by giving you your own server, if you like, giving you your own rights to your content. And we're going to talk about NFTs later on in the presentation. NFTs, in a very simple form, NFTs stand for non-fungible token, is a proof that you own a piece of digital content. That's really all it is. And I know we heard a lot about NFTs being those expensive JPEGs. Well, technically they are PNGs, but who cares? We talk about this sort of like expensive piece of art that is really worth nothing. But the fundamental principles of NFT stay, which is, hey, it is something that you have produced as a creator that you own. And whenever it's being used or whenever it's being resold, you get, almost 100% of the profits. And that's the end of the platforms as we know it. So we're going to talk about those terms here because I'm trying not to overwhelm you with all those different terms. But essentially, we're going to start with the basics here. The basics in Web3 is cryptocurrency, because everything we're describing, accessing, your own property rights, mean there has to have some currency that your rights are worth something. And the currency is not going to be US dollars or the euros or the yen or whatever. The currency is going to be a digital currency, which is going to be usually a digital currency. Some of you may be aware of what happened last night with Bitcoin. I'm not going to spend too much time here, but essentially there was approval from the SEC in the US to launch ETF and financial instruments. And really what we need to know is this is going to allow many everyday investors to go into cryptocurrency. It's a great thing because it means the more people are buying cryptocurrency and the higher is the value of this cryptocurrency, whether this is Bitcoin or Ethereum or many others. It also means that if you're a creator, a NFT holder or a brand, and you figure out a way to, monetize your digital assets, you're going to be paid more money than you were even until yesterday. So Bitcoin is what we call a fungible token. Every Bitcoin is the same, similar to every dollar is the same. $1 bill equal another $1 bill. This is possible because in Bitcoin or with NFTs or the metaverse, we'll talk about this in a second, everything is decentralized. So that anything you have to take away from today's presentation is the world of Web3 is a world of decentralization where instead of having a couple of platforms, Apple, Meta, Google owning your data, you actually own your data, you own your assets. And the way it's possible by having your own server on the blockchain. Blockchain is a decentralized database. Instead of having all the data sitting in one database, the data is sitting on millions of computers across the world. And what blockchain does is to bring those computers together. That way, blockchain cannot be really attacked. You can attack one server on the blockchain, but because you have 1 million servers, it's almost impossible to hack into blockchain. I'm not saying Bitcoin is safe. I'm not saying there's no spam in the crypto industry. There is a ton of that. But the blockchain, the technology by itself is very difficult to hack. The metaverse is the next thing I want to cover today. The metaverse is basically a world where mixed reality, is meeting virtual reality. It's a world where you could put a headset on, or maybe you can access without a headset and have interaction with your friends or colleagues or whoever. Roblox is an early example of that. There's many others out there that are Sandbox and many others. For the metaverse to work, you have to have a personal identity. Again, I'm going to give you another example here. If you're a gamer and you've been gaming for 20 years and you've been gaming on popular platforms and you've earned this new sword or shield or hat or whatever, you don't own any of this. At any point of time, Fortnite or Activision can take that away from you. You don't own those things. And there's one of the frustrations that led to the early people in Web3 to create Web3, which is in the Web3 world, if you're playing a video game with your own avatar using the blockchain, you own your digital appearance. It cannot be taken away from you. And you may not think it doesn't matter, but if it doesn't matter to you, it may matter to your kids or younger generations. My son is 11 years old. is more interested in his digital appearance than buying clothing for himself. This is what we're dealing with here. So we're telling those kids in the world of Web3, if using blockchain, that digital identity is yours for you to keep and cannot be taken away from you because it's in the blockchain and no one really controls the blockchain. And then to bring it together, all those worlds, Bitcoin, NFTs, metaverse, can be accessed through one thing, and that one thing is your wallet. It's a digital wallet that stores your NFTs, your digital currency. You would use your wallet to log into a website to access specific content because you have a membership or something along those lines. Now, I'm going to move on to the second part of the presentation. If you have any questions, I'm going to pause it for a second. But next, we're going to be talking about marketing and how all of this relates to marketer. But I'll pause for 1.5 seconds and see if you have any questions before we move on to the rest of the presentation. All right, I'm going to move on to the next couple of slides. So what does that mean for marketers? What does that mean for me? What does that mean for all of you on the call today? You might be working on a variety of marketing programs. This has an impact. Web3 has an impact across everything you're touching, from community engagement to paid media to organic search. Anything that you're touching really will be affected by Web3 at some point of time. So if we go back to Web3 being this sort of world where you can own your property and your assets, what it really means is if you're a brand and you're going into Web3, you want to make sure you have what we call incentive alignment. Let me explain what it means. If you're Gucci and someone is going to Roblox and buying a $3,000 Gucci digital bag, which by the way happened in the past, this is a real story. You want to make sure this person has an incentive to promote Gucci, and this person can resell that bag at any point of time. So your users, who used to be consumers of your products, are becoming in some ways users and shareholders of your company because they own that Gucci brand, they own that digital bag that they can resell at any point of time. So this is the difference between Web2, where you're a consumer, and Web3, where you're a consumer and an owner of those digital assets. At any point of time, have an incentive to go and resell them. And what that really means for a brand is now, as a brand, you're giving consumers another reason to shop with you. Not only they engage with you because they like your brand and what you stand for, but they also like those digital assets that have value to them. Let's talk about that. About two-thirds of Fortune 1000 brands globally have a Web3 presence today. They may have a collection of non-fungible tokens, again, digital handbags or whatever. They may have a presence in the metaverse, or they may have some sort of activations. We can talk about them in a second. The point is, despite everything you read about Web3 over the last year, Web3 is going downhill, NFTs are useless, crypto is going to go and die. At no point over the last year and a half have the brands paused on their marketing efforts. What they have done instead is to rebrand their marketing efforts, staying away from the words Web3, crypto, NFTs, and using words that are more popular for the consumer. Reddit is a good example of that. Reddit, a platform, launched one of the most successful NFT collections. They never call them NFTs. They call them digital collectibles. Very popular. The second most successful Web3 program is Starbucks. They relaunched their loyalty program using Web3 platforms. All they did was, hey, if you're a Starbucks Odyssey member and you go to a Starbucks around the corner here in Venice Beach, that's where I live, you're going to get points. And when you have enough points, you can redeem those points for digital art. The digital art really is an NFT. They just don't call it NFT because of the trauma NFTs have been through over the last few years. And I can go on and on for 25 minutes. All of what you're seeing on the slide, from Visa to Nike to more conservative brands like Ford, have NFT intentions or metaverse intentions. And they have not slowed down over the last year. I spoke to the head of Web3 at Ralph Lauren 4 months ago. At the peak, well, not the peak, at the bottom of Web3 at the time and said, we are committed to the Web3 world. This is the future of consumer engagement. This is the future of ownership. And this is the future of marketing for us. And I had the exact same commitment for brands like Adidas, Nike, and many others. So if you think that Web3 is going away, it is not at any point soon. Now, let me give you some specific example. This is a very emotional example for me because this was my first NFT. I think it was May 2021. I discovered the world of crypto through the Super Bowl, and I figured I cannot be left behind. I spent 20 years in marketing. I don't understand that world. And by the way, that's also the reason I put that curriculum together along with Madeline and many others. I felt like I have an obligation to give back because if you're going through that journey today, I was going through the exact same journey 2 or 3 years ago. And I understand that it's a lot to sink in. So I bought my first NFT, and I bought this Adidas NFT. You can see here, you don't see the animation, but basically it is a video that you buy. And you may be curious, and I spent an enormous amount of money at the time to buy this thing. And you might be curious, but why on earth, Ben, would you spend a couple of $1,000 to buy a JPEG? It is weird. I'll explain why. I did not purchase a JPEG, even though I do have a JPEG, in the blockchain that's attached to me. I can sell at any point of time. I purchased an expensive membership to a VIP club within the Adidas fan club. We have 10,000 of us globally who have access to this NFT. And because we have access to this NFT, we have access to exclusive benefits that no one else can get into. Every year, I'm being shipped a specific, Adidas attire that you cannot buy on the internet. It's something very custom, which is, by the way, under wrap because I'm going to sell it one day when it's very popular and very rare. Also, I've got access to Discord. Discord is another platform, a decentralized platform for gamers, but also you can interact with members of the Adidas community. Last but not least, when I went to NFT New York, which is a big trade show in New York City in the fall, I had access to free events organized by Adidas in the best bars in New York City. And if you live in New York City, you know how difficult it is to get into those locations. I never paid a cent to access those benefits. I just bought my NFT. I've got my NFT for life. I bought a membership. That's what I did. And if you understand that today, NFTs is about being part of something. It's not really about the art. And since then, I bought 40 or 55 NFTs. I think I've got like 40 memberships in different organizations, anything from fashion to art to publication to many, many others. I'll give you one more example of NFTs, which is not an expected one. If you live in California today, you will soon receive an NFT from the government of California. This is weird, huh? You, DMV, Department Motor Vehicle Records, so to prove that you own your car as a paper right now. DMV in California is going to shift this to an NFT model. So believe it or not, you're going to receive an NFT proving on the blockchain that you own this car. And this is coming over the next 18 months. So think about NFTs, put the hype aside for a second. It's a proof of digital ownership. You can use it for a mortgage. You can use this for real estate transaction. You can use it for your own car. You can use it for your health records down the road. NFTs are the future of digital ownership. And we're just getting started with fashion today. Brands use NFTs for so many reasons. You can see a couple of quotes here from very large brands. Adidas, basically, we have a successful physical presence through the blockchain. We want to create a very successful digital presence by launching this Adidas program I just went through earlier. Heineken built something funny. They built this sort of like Heineken digital bottles and bars you can access to in Roblox and many other places. This was a marketing coup. There's nobody behind this. They just wanted to be present in Roblox because the sentiment was, listen, teenagers, 16, 18 years old, are getting into Roblox, and at some point in time, they're going to start drinking alcohol. Maybe we can expose them to brands. And of course, you cannot be drinking alcohol in Roblox, but you get the idea. This is a brand exposure program. And then you look at those cosmetics brands. Many cosmetics brands are in the process of reinventing their Web2 loyalty program and turning into Web3. The Web3 loyalty program is slightly different because you have access. It's a membership. You have points. You get digital art and things of that nature. So really, NFTs will reinvent how we think about loyalty. I'm going to pause for a second because I'm seeing questions or comments in the chat window. Okay, good, Raiko. It's good to have some insight about your experience. Same for you, Stephen. Excellent. Okay, I'm going to move on to, I've got 2 more slides, and then we have a few minutes for Q&A. So if you're a marketer, you know this already. You probably have a playbook for Web 1. Web 1, honestly, was about search engine optimization, email marketing, which was very rudimentary at the time. I hate to say it, TV, radio, print ad, direct mails, and things of that nature. Web 2, we move into like having a direct communication between the brand and the user. So this is the area of social media. We become much more data-driven. Programmatic advertising, social advertising was invented at the time, using your personal data that's being tracked on the internet. It was the age of direct-to-consumer, brand like Casper and many others going directly and marketing to you. It was really the age of targeting. I have 10 years in programmatic advertising, programmatic social advertising. So I know a little bit about how data is collecting online and how it will use and harness doing Web 2 to deliver very targeted ads to you on social media. Web 3 is completely different. This is the age of community engagement. This is the age of digital ownership. This is the age of brands or even organizations like the DMV in California and many others giving you proof that you own a piece of digital assets. This is the age of tokens. NFTs are one token, but there's going to be many, many more. Let me give you another example. And I'm going to create a new example. Let's say I live in Venice Beach. I'm big into surfing and skateboarding and all this stuff. But let's say I want to create a surfing community in Venice Beach. I'm going to say, I'm going to create this organization where, you know, we're going to contribute $10 each month. We're going to put the money into a pot and we use the money for happy hours, recruit new members and whatever. Okay, it's cool. I can ask my neighbors to join. This will be a Web2 community. We can do this on Facebook, let's say. But now I want to do this in Web3. This is how I would do it. I would create what we call a DAO, D-A-O, which is a decentralized autonomous organization. And every member of that community has tokens into that community. So again, I've got Ben Surfing Club in Venice Beach here in California. I've got 100 tokens and each of the members gets 1 token. What I mean is, let's say the surfing community is one day getting sponsored by Budweiser. I'm just making that up. If I get $1,000 from Budweiser, I could use it for the profit of the community, or I can give it back to the shareholders. In this case, the shareholders will be the equity holders. In this case, they'll be the token holders. So I can use the mechanics of blockchain and digital ownership to distribute the profits among that community without any platform being involved here. It's a direct communication between me and the members of the community. So you can expect brands to start building communities that way, organizations of all type building organizations that way as well. And there are some very popular world right now in golfing, boating, and many, many others. But this is how Web3 looks like. It's about community, engagement, and incentive alignment between the community members. So, you know, we haven't talked about KPIs yet. I'll make it quick because I know we almost have time. In Web3, we're very, very attentive to anything that relates to community management. Because again, this is about incentive alignment being part of a bigger thing. So anything that relates to community management, engagement, time spent on Discord, ability to redeem a token and things of that nature are very important for communities. And usually communities have a token in common. So they look at the value of the token as a proxy for the value of the community. I'm going to go fast because I'm about 20 seconds away from, you know, the sort of a countdown in front of me. Again, it is 2 things you have to remember today. Is number 1, Web3 is a world of decentralization. We're bypassing the platforms to give power back to the user and allow them to own the digital assets. And then the second key takeaway is community is the new moat. It is the most important thing for Web3 marketers and Web3 users. I'm going to skip that slide because I'm out of time. If you want to find out more about Web3, there's 4 ways. You know, you can read this amazing book by Amanda Cassatt, who's one of early, if not the first CMO in Web3. She's amazing, and that group is very good. 2, you can read this book about the metaverse by Matthew Ball, who's been in metaverse for the last 10 years. And 3, you can read that book by Tim and Shan on Web3 marketing. There's a 4th one, I'm going to leave it, Madeline, to talk about this too. You can join this course that we've been creating for you with, I got a lot of friends who got involved and put together, pretty meaningful slides and curriculum. So that's another way to learn about Web3. And then last but not least, I'm always happy to be a resource to all of you. I love Web3. I do AI during the day. That's my day-to-day job. And I do Web3 at night. So I'm comfortable with both. And on this, I will pause for a second and see if you have any questions of Madeline. There's anything else you'd like to add?
I just wanted to say a massive thank you, Ben. I know that we're out of time and I would love to do another one of these with you. It's been fantastic, where we could ask more questions and use you as a resource in real time. I just want to shout out Z, who said in the chat that it's been absolutely excellent introduction with plenty of real world examples, truly paints a picture of the significance of Web3. I echo that. This has been extremely interesting and it's got my cogs turning. I want to shout out Ben's course. I'll put it in the chat again. So it's a Web3 for marketing leaders. It's a really great in-depth course where he's invited, like he said, lots of industry expert friends to teach you about how to use these strategies and actually implement Web3 into your marketing strategies. There's plenty of real world examples in the course, case studies, assignments, video lessons, interviews with experts. You can access the course now, so I encourage you to go and check that out. But in the interest of time, I will wrap it up here. Thank you everybody for joining, and thank you so much, Ben. That was really illuminating and I appreciate your time.
Thank you, everyone. Have a wonderful day. We'll talk soon.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Goodbye.